As I am recording this, it is November 29th, 2025, which means we have 1 month left for the year. You see, if you're here, it means that 2025 hit you harder than you expected. You thought and you wished that you had more time to achieve more in your life. And yes, you did make progress, you did come far, but the truth is, it is nowhere as near as your potential was. Just a friendly wake-up call. Let me ask you this. Is that really all you want? A little bit better than mediocre, just a little bit above average? Because you and I both know nobody is coming to save us. We either make a change or we stay in the same place that has been draining us this whole time. And there is 1 month left to the year. 1 month left to change your habits. 1 month left to achieve the goals you set for yourself. And 1 month to rewrite the ending. This last month is so important because it also sets you up for 2026. A whole year of success. You see, if this isn't the month where you finally lock in on your goals, then 2026 isn't going to be good because you're going to have this trailing effect. The lack of consistency and focus and the lack of discipline is going to spill over into the next year. And I've made a personal decision in my life that I want more, that I want to achieve more and be better. And that is something I stuck to. That is the intention that now rules my life. And I'm making this last month really count. Now let's make it together. I've broken down the systems that you need for change. And I'm going to share all these secrets in this video. Now this is the month that changes everything. Let's begin. Part number 1, the end of the old operating system. You see, we all have this outdated mental code, this mental programming and these beliefs and this identity. The old version of us, the old identity that does not serve us anymore. And most of us haven't yet tapped into that reserve so we can change old beliefs. If you have an old device with an old operating system, it's going to be hard to use. It's going to be slow. It's going to slow you down and hold you back. And that is the same way your operating system, if it isn't renewed, if it isn't fixed and optimized, it is going to hold you back in ways that you can't even see. So it's not really about improving your life. It is about reprogramming your mind and reprogramming your beliefs and your identity. Imagine this, a full rewrite of how you think, how you act, and the things that you do. And that includes identity switching, belief challenging, and pattern interruption. The whole idea here is if nothing changes, nothing changes. You see, we all have these beliefs, and if we don't change these beliefs, then we're going to keep getting the same results again and again. Because most of us, on an average day, we think 6,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. And the problem with that is those thoughts are mostly the same. So you can imagine how, why would your life change if you're thinking these same thoughts every day? And that's where identity shifting really kicks in. Because identity shifting allows you to assume the person you want to become. It is about making that promise that votes for your future identity and then abiding by it no matter what. Because every little win, every little small stack of evidence that you stack over the years, over the months, it is voting for the person you could become. And that self-trust, it builds, the self-confidence, it builds, and your identity starts shifting. You start to be that person. You start to assume the identity of the person who does what you want. And then you find yourself more consistent with the gym, more consistent with your habits, more consistent with your life and your health. And you don't spend as much time on your phone. You're not as addicted to social media as you once were. And it's just the cycle of becoming a new person. You see, habits always follow identity. The habits don't come first, the identity comes first. A swimmer is always going to swim. A boxer is always going to box. In that same way, a smoker is always going to smoke unless they change the identity, the underlying root cause of every single habit. And now ask yourself this, if your habits create your life and your life creates your results, and then your results are the way that you feel about yourself, the pride, the achievement, and all the positive emotions, then ask yourself, how do you change your life in the most fundamental way possible? And that is through identity. That is through not waiting for something to happen in order to start thinking, start acting, and start being like your future version, but doing that now and then waiting for the result to follow. If you want to be more consistent with the gym, start acting and ask yourself, the person who is consistent with the gym, how is that person? How does he act? How does he move? What does he do? What does this person do? And how do they think? And just keep diving deeper and deeper. Because to be consistent in a realm of human endeavor, you just need to understand one thing. Understand what version of you out there in any timeline, in any reality, is capable of following through, is the type of person that is automatically going to be consistent with this thing. Once you answer that question, then you know how you need to start shifting your beliefs and the person you need to start embodying, that version, that identity, that persona that once you embody that persona, you will be that person and you will do those things and you will live that life. And that takes me to part number 2, the art of productive isolation. And this isn't loneliness, it is strategic withdrawal. A lot of people draw negative connotations from productive isolation, but it has nothing to do with loneliness, and it has everything to do with pulling away from the noise, eliminating and shutting out distractions, and also shifting the low value inputs and blocking them out so you can allow new high value inputs to come in. Because your inputs create your outputs. If your inputs are low quality, your outputs are going to be low quality no matter how hard you try. So instead of focusing on the outcome and the output, which you can't really control, you need to shift your focus from the output to the inputs, because inputs are something you can actively control. You can choose how you spend your time. You can choose the type of person you want to become. You can choose how you want to see yourself and where you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years, because that is going to be the difference between a life full of regret and a life full of joy. So the way you can pull away from noise and distractions and shut everything out and change your inputs so you can finally change your life and your outputs is in 3 ways. So number 1, in a social media sense. So I'm going to give you the biggest tip in the whole self-improvement space that nobody talks about. Once you wake up, don't open your phone for 3 hours at the minimum. I've tracked this relentlessly with myself. I've had weeks and weeks and weeks where I would do a split. 4 days, I would wake up and not open my phone for 3 hours at least. And the other 3 days of the week, I would open my phone after half an hour of waking up. Not directly, which is even worse. You see, in the 4 days where I didn't open my phone, I felt amazing. I was focused and I was productive and I had my eye on the ball. But in those 3 days where I opened my phone, not that long after waking up, I found myself reaching out for my phone more often during my work sessions, more often during my day-to-day. And I found myself needing more dopamine hits. I was in a state where, for some reason, I had to be stimulated at some point in the day. I almost had this dopamine craving, and it just held me back. It distracted me. And at first, I thought this was a coincidence. I'm like, okay, maybe it's just 3 days. But I tried it again and again and again, and every single time, the same exact outcome. So in a social media sense, creating distance and shutting out the noise of all social media, everything that just doesn't impact you, and low value inputs, so you can grow as a person, so you can achieve your goals, so you can achieve that physique, achieve that financial status, become that person you want to become, that's respected, that is exactly where you want to be. So in a social media sense, detoxing and productive isolation means just simply allowing yourself to not be distracted by external digital noise. And number 2, in a physical sense, this is all about your work environment, who you surround yourself with. This is everything in the physical realm. And a lot of the times you will have noise, you will have distractions in your physical environment, and it's all about optimizing your environment for full focus. If that means cleaning up your whole desk and only leaving essentials, if that means optimizing your web browser so that everything that you need is accessible and everything you don't need is far from you. If that means going to a cafe and taking out your laptop over there and working, or doing your work or studying in another environment, going to a hotel, ordering something to drink, and pulling out your laptop and just doing work there. If that change of environment is what you need, it means that your default environment, which is your home environment, might be conflicting with your energy. You see, environments, they carry energies, and a lot of the times you don't really know why, but certain environments, they don't have energies that are primed for focus, for intention, and for productive work. So you can't really know which environment is sabotaging you and which isn't, but it's just a matter of practice. It's a matter of trial. It's a matter of just doing things, turning things around, and optimizing your environment in every way you can. And the third thing is just pulling away from the drama, all the noise, all the drama, and talking about other people's lives, talking about celebrities' lives. Why are you talking about somebody else's life when your life is the focus? It is really just about realizing that nothing is as important as your own goals, as your own life, as where you want to be. So spending time out of your day to talk about the news, to talk about what happened in the world, to talk about this and that, when you yourself haven't achieved your goals, that is noise that is pulling you back from your goals. A lot of people unconsciously do this, and I'm here to tell you that your life would be better off if you just had this level of just shutting out everything and just grinding, being locked in, putting your head down, getting the work in, and doing what you need to do to get to the next step. Because there are 2 ways to reach your goals. Number 1 is by increasing your sacrifice. by sacrificing more things so you can create space for your goal to come into fruition. And number 2 is by reducing your desire. If you do either or both of these two things, then achieving your goal will become easier than ever. And that takes me to part number 3, emotional control as a performance tool. So this is going to be the month where you learn to manage your state instead of being controlled by it. You need to analyze yourself just the same way you do a business audit, a life audit, and you look at yourself, you look at all of these states you're in. Obviously, in a 7-day week, not every day is going to be awesome. Not every day is going to be productive. But you plan. You're an analyzer. You're a thinker. You plan for these days. You know that on Tuesday, you tend to fall into a rut. You tend to be dopamine seeking. You want more dopamine. You need more stimulation. You're less satisfied. And maybe on Wednesday, you're productive. Wednesday is your focus day. And you see these patterns coming again and again. And this is so important because once you identify your patterns and how your brain works, you can adapt and adjust for perfection. And obviously, perfection is not real. Perfection is an illusion. But at the same time, striving for perfection is going to get you further than anything else. So control your emotions, control your reactions, control what you let in and out, control what you spend your energy on. This includes the content you consume. Everything you consume has to align with your goals. If you tell me, I want to be a successful business owner, and your YouTube feed is full of Teletubby videos, Mr. Beast videos, and random things that don't align with your goals, I'm going to tell you that you're lying to yourself. Because the truth is, everybody I know who's achieved something great, they started off and every part of their life started to be aligned with their goal. A successful salesperson, for example, their YouTube feed, the only videos they would watch, the only recommended videos when they would scroll Instagram, everything they would get on their feed was about sales, was about how to get better at sales, how to improve at sales, how to become smarter, how to think better, how to expose yourself better, and all of these things. So your inputs, you can control. You control the content you consume, the people who tell you things, the people you talk to, what you hear, what you see, and what you eat as well. All of these inputs do affect your outputs. And controlling this, controlling your emotional state, controlling what content you consume, controlling how you spend your night, how you spend your days, that is going to shape you, that is going to form you, and that is going to work towards building the identity that is going to change your life. So actionable steps in which you can actually do this and achieve this result is number 1, meditation. Meditation is a perfect way to silence the distractions, to silence the noise. And if you want to achieve your goals and change your life and get to where you want to be, I know we all have the same visions for success, the same ambitions, and then you realize that if you meditate for just 10-15 minutes every single day, you are practicing controlling your brain waves, your thoughts. And if you practice controlling your thoughts, you'll become better at controlling your thoughts. That means you're better at controlling distractions. And if that's the case, then you can actively achieve your goals without sabotaging yourself. And then the second thing is affirmations. You see, affirmations are one of the best ways to reaffirm a new identity or a new way of being. I'm not going to go too in depth into affirmations, but it is something we cover inside Discipline OS. It is our private community and I talk about it in every video, and that's because of how amazing it is. Anyway, part number 4, the 30-day identity audit. So this part is going to be all about a raw self-evaluation of these things. Number 1, what parts of your old identity aren't there anymore? Number 2, what traits actually stuck? And number 3, what do you need to work on? What needs evolving? What needs change? This is not a productivity audit. This is a self-revision protocol. So for 30 days, monitor yourself. Understand, what are the emotional crutches that I have? What are the habits I turn to when life gets hard? We all have these bad habits, these, dirty pleasures that when things get hard, when life gets stressful, when we fall back into a rut, we tend to binge and we tend to go back to those old ways. It's probably going to be different for many people, and that's why you need to do this self-revision. Because once you understand these emotional crutches and the things that are really distracting you and the things you tend to fall back to when you have a bad day, you can adjust and optimize for them. And that's going to be something like a bad day protocol, where instead you create a minimum system that will work at any day, even when you're not feeling like it, even when you are. Because once you understand your emotional crutches, you can start to really shift bad habits and allow space for good habits to come into your life. So pretty much you really know what to do. You know what you have to do to get to the next step. You just need accountability. You just need somebody or a group of people that are there to tell you, this is what you have to do. This is what you don't have to do. It's okay. We're on the same path. And there's also a quote that goes like this: sometimes we don't need advice. Sometimes we just need to know that we are not the only one. And that is the purpose of our private community, Discipline OS. And over there, we dive into these systems. We have 7-day challenges, which have helped me as well. build new habits that I otherwise would have not built to the same degree. And the weekly calls are also full of value. So click the link in the description box below and I'll see you inside.